Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 208 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on April 23rd, 2024. How are all you wonderful folks doing? Yeah, I hope you're doing well. Busy times. Have a quick episode for you today. And look, I know I said that last time, and I know it ended up going 2.5 hours. I'm going to try not to do that this time, God willing, because that was rough. But yeah, it should be shorter. But we do have some interesting topics for you today. Per popular request, we're going to dive into 3-lug mounts a little bit. Yeah, so that should be cool. Now, I had promised some of you I was going to discuss 3-lug in the previous episode's technical discussion of the Cat Mob 9mm silencer. That subgun silencer, for which 3-lug would be a popular choice, of course. So we'll hit some of that today. I know a lot of you guys had some 3-lug questions, so I'll talk about 3-lug. I know it's been a couple years, I think, since we last talked about 3-lug stuff. I know we dove into that on the podcast a long time ago, but a lot of new listeners, a lot of folks kind of forgot. So it'll be a refresher for you. So that'll be valuable, I think. And also, we are publishing 2 more white papers today. That's right, concurrently with this episode. So if you're listening to this episode on time, you will have those. If you're an early bird, they're not quite there yet, but you'll see them, on Wednesday. The Future J will publish them for you then. That's right. You guys are going to see the Otter Creek Labs Titanium. That's their little 22 silencer. That's right. We tested on both bolt action rimfire and also little semi-auto pistol rimfire. Yeah, so you'll see how that all shakes out. It's a neat little silencer, and I think they did a great job on it. It's pretty good. So it's in some really interesting tidbits in those articles, I think. So we'll hit the intro discussion for those 2 articles today, and we'll hit the technical discussion of those 2 papers next time on next week's episode, as is tradition. Okay, give you a chance to go through those. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a quick word about our gracious podcast sponsors that make the show possible. That's right. The J Situation Podcast is proudly sponsored by Legion Athletics. Nothing you do, exercise, sports, really any physical activity or expertise is worth doing without consistency, right? You got to practice something and train to be good at it. No matter what you're doing, you have to do it all the time if you want to be good at it. Legion Athletics can help you with that. They have supplements to keep you going, help supplement nutrition where you can't get it from food sometimes. Whey protein, pre-workout, post-workout. They do not have everything you need. I'm not going to blow your skirt up and tell you they do, but they do have a lot of it, okay? And you can visit legionathletics.com. There's a link in the show notes. You can get 20% off of your first order by using code word PewScience. That's right. If you keep using code word PewScience every time you shop there at legionathletics.com, you'll get double loyalty points, which you can then redeem for money. And you'll get, essentially, it works out mathematically to get a net 10% off everything you order going forward with that code. So you win. It helps support the podcast. You get swole. It's pretty cool. Okay. The podcast is also brought to you by Top Gun Range Houston. If you're in the Houston area, even if you're just passing through on a business trip, I highly recommend just dropping by their shop. They have a 15-lane indoor shooting range. You can rent pistols and rifles and shotguns and even machine guns. They have the largest rental fleet, I think, in the state of Texas. And now they even started letting you rent silencers. So you can go in there, pick from their gigantic rental inventory from a bunch of popular firearms, and most importantly for you guys, popular silencer hosts. You rent the silencer too. You go in there with some ammo, you pop off some rounds, you understand suppressed function. Who knows? Maybe you'll find a new silencer host or a new silencer that you want to buy, or maybe you can try some out that you've always wanted to try just to see how they are. Maybe you find something, you shoot something, you're like, wow, I didn't like that at all. Definitely not buying one of those. That's good information. Okay? You can check out all that stuff at topgunrange.com, and you can find them on Instagram at topgunrange. They're nice folks. Go bother them. This episode is also brought to you by High-End Armament Technologies out of Oklahoma, a dealer of various weaponry and accessories like, rare Knights Armament guns you can't find, some weird HK stuff, maybe some lasers that fall off the back of the truck. Who knows? I'm not saying anything. All right. Check them out at highendarms.com, at Instagram at highendarms, and they even have a Facebook page, which is also High End Arms. I hope they can help you folks out if you need it. Okay. Tell them Jay sent you. This episode is also proudly sponsored by Silencer Shop. They've done a lot of good things for the silencer industry. Get a lot of new dealers interested in silencers and provide a model for them to do business that's relatively streamlined. And for you, the consumer, it's pretty good. It's like pretty convenient. You go to their kiosk, you do your fingerprints and your photos electronically. It cuts today. That's right. It cuts down on errors. You simplify your silencer purchasing process. You get a money back guarantee. It's pretty good. You don't pay a transfer fee, which is awesome. You don't have paperwork errors. You just get your silencer with no drama, man. Truly, a silencer ownership simplified. They're good folks. They support this Pew Science research effort. They support this podcast. It's a big deal. And speaking of Pew Science, let me tell you something, brother. The podcast is brought to you by the Pew Science Laboratory. I am the technical director of the lab. And in the interest of public education, the lab has chosen to dedicate resources to sponsor this podcast every week. And so we do actually run a public research effort. And the goal of that effort is to continue to push the silencer industry forward, one test program at a time. And you can visit pewscience.com for the suppression rating. It is something we developed. It is the simplest and most accurate hearing safe rating for your suppressed small arms. It's based on true human inner ear response of the entire gunshot from before the combustion takes place all the way until all the combustion is gone, all the operation ceases from the weapon. There's no mechanical noise anymore. It's all done. It gives you a really good standardized picture of what you can expect from an impulsive noise event from a suppressed small arm weapon system. Okay. Pew Science is the home of the Silencer Sound Standard. There are 7 sections in the standard on our website. It's the most in-depth and accurate silencer data and analysis in the entire world. And it's all available to the public 24/7 on our website, pewscience.com. Okay, go check it out. And you can support the podcast. You can support our lab. You can support all the public testing that you consume on the website by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. That's a really big deal. It helps us a lot. And if you're not into like doing, it's pretty cheap. All things considered. But if you're not into that, I understand. There's like one-time donations you can make too that helps us, and they're tax deductible. There's a donate button on the review page and the podcast page. Every little bit helps. And something that's free, doesn't cost you anything. If you're not into spending money, I understand. You can give the podcast a good rating on Spotify or iTunes or YouTube. You can go to YouTube and like and subscribe, as they say. And you can let folks know that silencers and guns are awesome. Give a good rating on the old iTunes or what Apple Podcasts. I don't know what it is. I don't have an iPhone. So anyway, just spread the word. It let folks know that silencers and guns are awesome. And then we get to normalize the use of suppressed small arms, which is the overall goal. There's also like someone was telling me on YouTube, you can go and like, there's a button, you hit like the super thing. I think you can give money on YouTube. I don't know how it works. Never done it, but there's a button on there. If there's not, let me know. There should be. I have no idea what I'm doing with regard to YouTube, but I do have 3 topics for you today, and I do understand silencers. Topic 1, as promised, 3-lug mounting. That's right. What is it? Why do we use it? What options do you have as a silencer consumer in 2024 with regard to 3-lug? So, and should you care about the 3-lug version that you use? Potentially, yes. Potentially, you should care. We'll talk about that. And then topic 2, of course, as I alluded to in the introduction here, Sound Signature Review 6149, the Otter Creek Labs Titanium on the 22 CZ452 bolt action. Rimfire is back again. And this is going to be the intro discussion for this technical white paper published today with the podcast. And then in a similar vein, topic 3 will be Sound Signature Review 6150. Again, the Otter Creek Labs Titanium on the subcompact Beretta 21A. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So we went for bolt action, 16-inch, low pressure. And then the next examination will be subcompact semi-automatic pistol, high pressure. Understand? Same ammunition, different pressure regime due to the combustion in the barrel and when the bullet uncorks. We'll talk about that in the technical discussion next time, but I just want to frame this to say, oh my gosh, 2 articles, 1 silencer. Why would you do that? Well, because performance is different on different hosts for the same silencer. That's right. And two different systems, 2 different sets of performance, 2 different signatures, 2 different pieces of information for you to understand technically, okay? So we'll go into the intro discussion for that as well. And guess what? That's the 150th dang article in the Silencer Sound Standard. Wow. 150. That's crazy. That's right. That's insane. So let's move into topic 1 at a time of 10 minutes and 6 seconds. Okay, got that written down. That's crazy. 1 second, guys. Okay, so topic 1. Oh, and this is a topic dear to my heart, actually, because, I'm a silencer guy. So 9mm subguns are cool to me. And so as promised, topic 1, 3-lug mounting. And I say subguns because 3-lug is... You won't talk about 3-lug without submachine gun. That's the whole point, and we'll talk about why. Okay, so what is the 3-lug? Why do we use it? And what options do you have as a silencer consumer in 2024 with regard to using the so-called 3-lug? Should you care about it? Should you care about the version you use? And my answer to you would be potentially yes. Potentially you should care. And so what I would like to do is I'm going to talk to you about this. Okay, I'm going to answer your questions that you guys have been asking on social media but via email, because I've got so many questions after the last podcast episode with the discussion of the Cat Mob, which is just so happens to be a submachine gun silencer, and they have a hub compatible version, which means people can put different mounts inside it. So, and some of you saw that I am a fan of 3-lugs, and it's whole thing, and people were like, oh my gosh, how do I attach this silencer to my XYZ gun? Because I have a 3-lug barrel, and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, I'm going to go into it, but it's such a long discussion, and I think there's a lot of listeners who don't even know what a 3-lug is, or they might have heard of it, but they really don't understand what it is and what it's not. So what I would like to do is I would like to go into a little bit of a quick, not history lesson, but a little bit of a historical discussion. So maybe it'll set the stage, and you can have maybe a little bit of a better appreciation for what you're looking at when you say 3-lug. So once upon a time, first of all, gather around the campfire, children. Children? No, I'm just kidding. There's probably older people listening to this, but I am not young. No, once upon a time, there was a gun, and the gun was called the MP5, and it was good. We liked it. It had no threaded barrel. Did you know that when the MP5 first came, it didn't have a threaded barrel? And a lot of people found that to be less than optimal for adding a silencer. Right? Makes sense. It's kind of hard to add a silencer when you don't have threads on the barrel. But, the Germans, they had done something clever, kind of separately, like serendipitously. They had machined lugs into the barrel onto which certain attachments could be connected. They did that on the MP5 relatively early on, and that was for attaching things like flash hiders to the lug system. There was a grenade launcher system. You could put like rifle grenades onto it. You could use like a blank firing adapter for like training stuff, things like that. Like there's all kinds of different attachments you could put onto the lug barrel of the MP5. And the thing about these lugs, and what they are, it's essentially like they machine, like the barrel is like larger diameter, and they machine it down to the barrel diameter on the OD. But there are these protrusions that have sort of they have like curvature on like the distal end, but like the proximal end is like orthogonal protrusion, where essentially the rear proximal end of these lugs is flat. Okay, and you'll have to Google a picture of this, but this is an HK system. Okay, this was like the geometry of the lugs themselves were first debuted from HK themselves. These lugs were not intended to be used to attach a silencer. It was just to attach, other stuff. But, anytime you have something on a gun and someone wants to do something with that part and something's not available, someone's like, I bet I could rig up a system to put a silencer on that. So where there's a will, there's a way, right? So a little bit of history for you, and if you're a silencer historian, please feel free to call me or email me. I'm pretty sure most of what I'm about to tell you is correct, more or less. And I could have a little bit of details wrong in this, but I'm pretty sure most of it is pretty spot on. Okay, so there's this guy, his name Tim Bixler, okay? And I never got to meet Mr. Bixler, but those who knew him or have met him have always spoken highly of the guy. And a little bit of history about him, he did a lot of stuff in his life. And, he was in the Navy, and, he was a machinist. I think he was a police officer at one point, and he was a diver, gosh. And he made machine guns and silencers and all sorts of stuff, as a machinist. He was a really talented guy. And Mr. Bixler met a guy named Phil Dater. Some of you know who that is. And, he was doing some machine work with Phil. And Mr. Bixler was very instrumental in the design, actually, of a prototype silencer that would become the AWC Mark IX. Yeah. And that was before AWC was actually a company, I believe. And just going back to, I think, our last episode when we talked about subgun silencers, some of you might know, the GSL Phoenix. You've seen that, right? Pretty big, fat 9mm subgun can. And as I spoke about before, the Phoenix is a revamp of the old Mark 9K silencer, okay? So what I'm talking about that Bixler helped design was a prototype for the Mark 9, which predates the Mark 9K. Understand? So the AWC Mark 9 is a really big 9mm silencer. It's like really long and big and quiet. Okay? So not the K can, not the Mark 9K, so not the Phoenix, but the thing that predates the Mark 9K, it was the Mark 9. And I'm talking about he worked on the design before even AWC was there to make the Mark 9. You get it? Awesome. I'm going somewhere with this, I promise. So anyway, AWC was like making a lot of different silencers once they formed in the late 80s. It was like the late 80s or something. And Bixler had his own company, like separately. And he had been operating, I think, since the 70s. I think, and his company was called South Central Research Corporation. Okay, and that is the acronym SCRC. And if you are from Texas, or if you live in Texas, or if you are in the Houston area, you may be familiar with that company because it was right outside of Houston. That's right. And we can go into that later if you really want to know where, but yeah, right outside of Houston there. And so SCRC made some interesting subgun cans, and the theme was, right, if you look at the old AWC Mark IX, the theme back then, I mean, in a lot of stuff, even like you go to listen to that old episode I did in the podcast with Tom Bowers, all the stuff he did with a Mac. I mean, all this era, all these companies it was all about the different subguns, and by that I mean sub-caliber ammunition in the automatic weapons. So submachine gun with 9mm ammunition. All these are like large diameter. They're pretty heavy, and some of the silencers that SCRC was making were pretty similar to the Mark 9. Of course, because that's where the lineage came from. And so there's a lot of history to know here. And just to boil it all down, just for this topic that we're talking about today, the cool part about all of this is that Bixler was such a talented machinist and designer that he had figured out a way to connect silencers to the barrel nuts on several different guns, like an Uzi, you know what I mean? Like the barrel nut replacement. Like Bixler figured that out. And he also figured out a way to connect silencers to the lugs on an MP5 barrel. And he is the first guy, to my knowledge, and I want to say this is right. Please, if this is wrong, correct me, but I think Bixler is the first dude to create a 3-lug silencer mount. I'm pretty sure he was the first guy. And so now, the Tim Bixler, the SCRC mount, SCRC design, that 3-lug silencer mount, it's different than a lot of the ones that everyone else uses. Everyone else that I've seen uses Greg Lotka's design, right? Greg, he's the G in GSL, right? So Greg's design has a spring, and it's like a quick attach. So, and it's pretty slick, dude. Like, you push, you line it up on the barrel, you push, line up the lugs with little keyed openings, you push, you twist, you let go, and it locks on. It's easy, super quick, right? It's really slick. I've always thought that was so slick. But there's some downsides to it, right? Like, it can have a wobble, and that can happen if, that wobble can happen for a few reasons, right? It can happen if things aren't well thought out. Sometimes, depending on the gun, the mount can be a little too long. So when you go to push it on and twist, it bottoms out before being able to engage the lugs, because depending on the gun. And so that happens sometimes when manufacturers, they'll copy the Lotka design, and they'll miss like key dimensions, and that's actually more common than you think, but it does happen. We've seen it happen over the years, and I have some mounts that do that. And anyway, and chances are, if you've used a 3-lug silencer, there's probably, I'm pulling this number out of my butt, but there's like a 99% probability you're using a Lotka mount or a variant of it, right? So the Bixler mount works completely differently than that, completely differently. So it has no spring, okay? It has, and most of them that I've seen, I think all of them that I've seen only have 2 parts to them. They have a mount cylinder that it's either part of the silencer, and the original ones were only like they were part of the silencer, or it can be a separate piece that threads into the rear of like a modern hub silencer, for example. And I have one of those. So that's the first piece of it. And the second piece is a coupler, and it has keyed, I guess, or a better way to say it has like the 3-lug cutouts that, okay, and what it does is it threads to the mount cylinder. Okay, so you have 2 pieces. You have the mount cylinder that's either built into the silencer or you can put into a hub, which is a new vernacular. And then the other piece is a coupler that threads onto that cylinder, okay? You place the coupler over the lugs on the gun. Then you place the silencer on the barrel. You turn the coupler so that the lugs are engaged. You turn the silencer to thread it to the coupler. And when it's threaded and it's tight on there, it's fixed, okay? Because it's 2 pieces that are sandwiching the lugs together with a silencer, and using thread engagement to create that compression of the lugs. Understand? So there's no spring, there's no wobble. It's just a fixed mount that doesn't go anywhere. It turns your 3-lug silencer mounting scheme into a fixed mount on the barrel. That is the original 3-lug silencer mount. Okay? Like, that's all that existed when they did it. Okay? HK didn't do a silencer mount for 3-lug. Okay? Tim Bixler did. Okay? So that's what a 3-lug mount is for a silencer. Okay? The Lotka mount came later. Probably because, I don't know, I actually talked to Greg. They're a client of PewSign. It was super honored. But like, I don't know why. Maybe he was like, I want to make it faster. So he did. I don't know. Probably. But and a lot of people do. A lot of people prefer the true QD of the Lotka mount, the spring-loaded one. And I can't say I blame them, right? I mean, look, if the Lotka mount copy is good, it's good and it works. Like, if you have a copy of that mount and it works, the spring one, it works, dude. The best ones I've seen, and this is only my experience, like just using 3-lug silencers, the best copies of the Lotka mount that I have seen usually came from Gemtech, SWR, or AAC. Like, those are the best ones, dude. And in fact, I want to say, of the modern ones, I have an AAC one around here somewhere, like the new, like they called it the Triad. That was their copy of it. And I remember putting that on my SP5 a while back, and it was so dang tickety tight. I was like, yeah. I was like, that doesn't wobble much at all. Like, that was cool. That was just a long time ago. Like, or not a long time ago, but like a couple of years ago, I had the AAC one. So I've seen and used and tested some garbage Lotka 3-lug copies, and it's definitely not Greg's fault, dude. Like, it's definitely just a poor understanding of the system. So yeah, your mileage is going to vary. Okay, it honestly is. Your mileage is going to vary on these guys, and that's the stark reality of the situation. And so again, the reason this topic is on the podcast today, I mean, besides the fact that I think it was cool, and the fact that I know we've talked about it a long time ago, but it's been a while. I thought a lot of you folks should know about it. The second reason is, like I said, I did promise you guys I was going to talk about 3-lug mounts for the Cat Mob silencer that we just tested, and I forgot to talk about last time. One of the reasons I didn't get to it, despite not only that I forgot, but we had so many other things to cover. Okay, so one second. So with the Cat Mob, they do make a hub-compatible version of the silencer, and so you, of course, you would be free to put a 3-lug mount in it if you wanted to. Now, that is what I did, just like for personally, like outside the test program. Just I've done that, and I posted that photo with last week's episode of the podcast, just because I thought it was a cool photo. I love the MP5, and I did. So in that photo in last episode's photo, you can see that the HK SP5 with a Bixler type 3-lug mount threaded into the hub version of the Mob, and you can see it attached to the barrel of the gun. Okay, it's literally in the picture. And then folks ask me, they say, "Hey man, which 3-lug mount would you use in the Mob if you were using the Mob on a 3-lug barrel? Like, what would you use? Like, you, Jay, what would you use?" And I said, well, since I only have one hub compatible 3-lug mount, because all my other 3-lug mounts are like for silencers they go into. Like, they're not, like, I don't have any other hub. I just don't have any. All I have is the Bixler mount. I have a hub Bixler mount. Just so I happen to have one. Okay. I've had it for a while, and so I'm using that one. So that's my answer, guys. That's what I use. But that does not mean everyone's going to use a mount like that. I understand that. What if you want to use a Lotka style mount with a spring? You might want to use one of those. You certainly might want to. So what are some things to think about when choosing which hub compatible 3-lug mount to use in the Mob silencer? Because this is the actual question people are asking me. So I'll answer that question. So there are a few things, and I wrote them down because I was trying to keep track. I was like, okay, if I had to tell you what to look for when you're picking a 3-lug mount, I will try to summarize what I would look for. First thing I would look for is quality. Like, does it work? And by quality, I mean, like, does it work? And because those two things are very related in this case. Is it going to lock up on your barrel correctly? Like, if you get some wobble when this is locked up, that's fine. There's going to be some wobble in the Lotka mount. Okay. The silencer might wobble, and what do I mean by wobble? Some of you who never used a 3-lug silencer might not know what I'm talking about. If you install a QD spring-loaded 3-lug silencer on a 3-lug barrel, and everything's in tolerance and spec and stuff, and you put lateral force, like if you push the tip of the silencer laterally, like orthogonal to the bore, it could move a little bit. Now, it shouldn't happen when you fire a gun. Okay, and the bullet should be long gone if it does. But I'm just saying, some of these mounts are more solid than others. Some of them wobble like they're drunk, and you don't want one of those, 'cause that's a problem. And you don't want to like rest your silencer on something when you're firing the gun. Don't do that. It's not your barrel, dude. Okay, especially with the MP5. If you have a 3-lug silencer and you're resting that silencer on something as you're shooting, you're gonna have a bad time. Okay, because you're literally moving it. You're either gonna graze the end cap, or you're going to affect it some other way. So just try not to like rest your rod on stuff. Okay. So that's one thing. Look at like basically, does it work with the gun? Secondly, you should look at how far, and to be clear, I'm talking about mounts that you can put into silencers that can accept these. So we're really talking about hub compatible. I just hate that we even say the word hub compatible mounts. So the second thing you should look at is how far does the mount protrude into the blast chamber of the silencer? Okay. Because remember, guys, remember when like silencers used to be designed as a system, and then somewhere along the way, someone decided they wanted to like make some kind of universal back end, and now everyone in their bomb has different mounts, and no one really thought about how that was going to affect gas dynamics. You remember that? I remember that. So yeah, why do you have to care about this? Why do you have to care about how far it goes in to the silencer? Well, some silencers care more than others. Yeah, so some 3-lug mounts may lower silencer performance. Yeah, that can happen for 2 reasons, right? Why? Well, first is that they protrude too far into the expansion chamber. And the second is that the silencer cares, right? Because, anyway, that's really just one reason. But yeah, so you got to think about that. And then another thing to think about, you should look at whether or not the mount even fits into the silencer, because that could be a problem. So the hub thread diameter and pitch, like to my knowledge, I'm pretty sure that was originally intended for rifle silencers, right? Like pretty sure. So not every 3-lug mount fits hub pattern threads, for one. Just because you find like a 3-lug mount you can buy like separately from a silencer doesn't mean it's going to be a hub 3-lug mount. It could be like some other threads for like some other diameter or something, right? So like here, what's an example of that? Well, like what about the Dead Air one? Dead Air sells and I looked this up. Dead Air sells a 3-lug mount. They sure do. Now, if you can't just put that in the back of a hub mount silencer though. You would have to use an adapter. They make one of those. It's called a P series to hub adapter. So it looks like for them, it's just a thread reducer. It goes from like the hub threading, and it reduces it down to a smaller diameter that fits their 3-lug mount. Okay, and I'm pretty sure I looked at it. You could probably put the Dead Air 3-lug mount in the Cat Mob using their 3-lug mount and their P series to hub adapter. Boom. Okay, there's an option. Boom. Okay, cool. Now, why? Okay, so that sounds like a simple solution, right? But here's the thing. So the thing about that Cat Mob blast chamber is you got to understand for one, it's not a normal blast chamber. 2, it does have a lot of room for threading a mount in. And I have one on my desk. I measured it earlier. It actually even has room forward of the threads in the chamber. But if you go too far in, you're going to run into there's like an expansion chamber vent structure on the walls. And if you run into this interference there, you're just not going to be able to go past it. When I have calipers on my desk, I just like dump my caliper arm into the chamber earlier. And I want to say there was like at least 0.8 inches of depth that you're free to mess with. So at the largest portion of the ID, the inner diameter of the chamber, understand? So figure that out. All right, it's not my job, but because I don't have the dimensions of all the hub 3-lug mounts out there, and I certainly don't have the exact dimensions of the Cat silencer. I haven't recreated that for you. So one thing I know is that my Bixler 3-lug fits in super easily, dude. Like it's not even, but the Bixler 3-lug I have, it's normal. It doesn't go in far. So you got to keep in mind the Lotka style mounts, the spring ones that everyone used to use when they were first used, they all fit outside the blast chamber of the silencer. Like you would never put a 3-lug mount into the blast chamber. Like no one ever did that, dude. Like other than I think was it AAC with the Triad or something. Like you don't like a lot of these companies. Like I've seen like the Rugged. Like Rugged has their 3-lug mounts goes into the chamber. I'm like, what are you doing? Like I mean, it saves length, right? But anyway, it's a little weird to me that some people are doing that. For some silencers don't care as much. Some silencers do care. look, I'm not designing these people's silencers for them. That's their rodeo. It's not my rodeo. But like, I'm just trying to tell you, when I got this Bixler mount, I was like, oh, cool. It goes into a hub silencer. And I never thought about it not working because I was like, oh, 3-lug mounts would always work because they're always outside the blast chamber. And then I got to thinking about it, I was like, oh my God, some people that are making 3-lugs, they make it so that it goes into the chamber. I was like, why would you do that? I was like, it must be to try to save length. I was like, yeah, but that's so like intrusive. Wouldn't you want the muzzle jet to just freely expand and then go into the chamber unimpeded so you can take advantage of your, geometry that you perfectly tuned for gas dynamics? That's what I would do. But hey, what do I know, right? So next question I got, this Jay guy's crazy. What does he know about silencers? The next question I got from a lot of people about 3-lug mounting with the mob, it's that Cat mob silencer, was performance potentials, just like I'm talking about, right? They were like, so it's related, and it's related to the protrusion of the mount body into the expansion chamber. So there's that, but there's also another parameter you have to think about. It's the offset of the muzzle jet orifice from the first baffle. So yes, a lot of old school silencer people say, well, you're taking up volume of the blast chamber. It's like, yes, you are taking up, absolutely. You are absolutely taking up volume of the blast chamber, and that does change expansion ratios. Yes, 100% understood. But there is also a linear distance that, believe it or not, is another NOPTA term that, yes, I know it's related to the volume of the blast chamber, but it's another NOPTA term. So that offset from the muzzle jet to orifice to that first baffle for certain designs does matter. We historically in the research pedigree we've talked about that. Okay, so you'll find that in the mob, if you look at it, it's interesting. I looked at it earlier today because I couldn't remember. You'll find that the vent, it has vents in the blast chamber, and the vents to that first stage, they're actually really far in there. And so that's good. That's really great. Like, they're really far forward in the blast chamber. So I would say, my advice would be, I would say try some stuff out, see what works, dude. If Pew Science, like if our postulations hold with some of these other technologies, that diverge technology in the mob, it's going to deal pretty dang well with the varied standoff from the first orifice, for one. I can pretty much guess that. And since the first round pop really isn't there with the flash hider that we tested it with, like, you got to keep in mind on the test, we used that TS the client said we want to use the TSFX, the flash hider. I said, all right, so I put fine, you're the boss. So I put the flash hider in there, and that's what we tested. So there wasn't like really FRP with that, and the flash hider is like, I can see the marks from the circumferential jetting, or I'm sorry, that's a bad word, the radial jetting from the flash hider ports onto the sides of the blast chamber. So I know gas is jetting out like that, which is designed to do. I'm like, okay, cool. And so I would venture to say that the array design of that silencer, it's probably going to help minimize FRP with a lot of different mount types if it was doing it with that. Because if you just put a direct thread in there, you're going to have sort of a similar gas profile in some ways. So I wouldn't be too concerned. So again, I can't give you like exact results of like what the performance differential would be with these exact changes, because I don't have those results. But I think here's a good way to put it. I think simply by being limited to a certain outer circumferential depth of that 0.8 inches, like when the ID of the blast chamber shrinks because of some vent structures in there, that happens once you get like 0.8 inches in, I think being restricted to that geometric limitation is probably going to self-police a problem, because you simply can't get too close. You understand? So like, now keep in mind, like that 3-lug mount from Dead Air I was talking about, dude, it goes to that their little thread reducer, the P series thread reducer, whatever it's called. I think that keeps the mount off the outer walls of the blast chamber. It probably can go even further in than 0.8 inches. And I think that's what a lot of these mounts are probably going to do. They're just probably going to go further in. If they're too long, they'll have to go further in because they're a smaller diameter inside or something. You understand? Whatever. You have to look at a photo to understand this. The only interference in the mob blast chamber that you need to worry about, it's like a little over 3/4, 0.8 inches in, and only once you get over like 1 inch of internal diameter, right? So like if your main diameter of your mount, your main OD of your mount threads, or your mount adapter threads are smaller than that, you might be able to go way further in past the geometric feature of concern. Like you might be able to like, I don't know, like if it's a hub threads, it's like, 1 point whatever it is. And like maybe the part of your 3-lug mount that's like protruding far in is like smaller than an inch and it passes right through. You know what I mean? You're just going to have to measure everything and look. Okay. You're just going to have to figure that out. Okay. So if it were me and like I really needed to know something like and no one knew and whatever, I would just contact the manufacturer, dude. Contact CAT. Hey, contact Silencer Shop. Silencer Shop should be able to figure this out for you. They should have access to most of the 3-lug mounts, and they have the silencers too. They should be able to help you. Like, go talk to the people who sell the silencers, dude. They should if you're gonna buy one, right? They should be able. This is simple stuff. They should just be able to like, oh, this fits, this doesn't fit. I think so. Yeah. Again, we did test it with the flash hider, and that's what they wanted us to do. So now, here's the $1 million question: could the Bixler mount that I have in my hand right now give this thing higher performance? Well, it could. It most certainly could give it higher performance. It could. With I don't know. Now, could a simple direct thread mount give it higher performance? Maybe. I don't know. Could be. What I do know is that I am an MP5 guy. And with that recent data release, every MP5 guy out there has yet another incredible option at their disposal. I'm amped for MP5 culture everywhere. Just represent. That's what I say. And I am a big 3-lug fan. I always have been. I hope that the history of the 3-lug, it's very brief that I gave you. I hope that is enlightening and kind of gives you an appreciation for what had to be freaking done. And the Germans with their traditional like overcomplicated engineering, I'm not dogging them. I think it's cool. I'm just saying, hey, guys could have figured something else out there. No, it's good. 3-lugs are great. I hope that helps. Let me know if anything was unclear. I'll be happy to answer further questions. Let me know if I left anything out, which is definitely possible. Okay. All right. 3-lug complete. Okay, let's move into topic 2 at a time of 42 minutes and 55 seconds. Oh, excellent. Okay, we're making pretty good time. A lot different than the 2.5-hour insanity last episode, I'll tell you what. Okay. Topic 2, Sound Signature Review 6/149. Yeah, and now something completely different than what we were just talking about. Yeah, Sound Signature Review 6/149. The Otter Creek Labs Titanium on the 22 CZ452 bolt action. Okay, this is a Rimfire. It's back again. So this is an introductory discussion for this white paper that we're publishing with this podcast today. And this is actually something pretty cool. Guys, I'm kind of excited about this one for a bunch of reasons, actually. So this is Otter Creek Labs Titanium. I have it right here on my desk. It's cool. It's a little 22 silencer made by those gracious Kentucky boys there. Andrew and John, yeah. No, shout out to Otter Creek Labs. They're cool. Longtime P-Science client. Company that does a lot of testing and development of their own. And it really shows in their products, actually. And I think a lot of people, sometimes, I don't think a lot of people talk about that. But as someone who does a lot of testing myself, and I look at a lot of data, and I look at a lot of different performance silencers, and I see things in the data that lets me know a little bit of clues into how things were developed sometimes. And in fact, and that's a good thing to say. So, but before I start this off, and keep in mind, this is just an intro discussion. I'm gonna elaborate on this further next week. But before I kick this off, I did want to kind of paraphrase a conversation that I had with Andrew from Otter Creek about this silencer that I think was pretty interesting. And I think it shows you a lot about Otter Creek Labs, and I think it shows you a lot about Pew Science. And I think he'll be fine with me saying this. When I presented the test results to Andrew, and I gave my technical opinion about the performance factors driving different things in a silencer, like I tend to do, I basically told him, I said, man, looking at the data, I think the silencer is really refined. I think it must have taken you a significant amount of time to develop it, because what it's doing in the signatures show that to me. It shows me something. And I told him, furthermore, the silencer does pretty well, but it really does shine more on a pistol. And here's what I think about that. And Andrew did confirm that they did all their testing and development on pistol platforms. And they made a significant number of iterations of baffle designs to get it right. Okay. And I really paraphrased that. I'm not going to go repeat the whole private conversation, but I repeated what I think he would want me to say, and what I want you to know about the design, and what Pew Science determined to be true independently without even talking to Otter Creek about this before the testing of it. Understand? It's a big deal, because as a conventional baffle silencer, the data we gathered and the analysis we produced for this thing aligned very closely with what they told us. This thing runs, dude. It runs. It's consistent. It's not the quietest thing ever on a bolt gun, but it's quiet enough to be great. And guys, I mean, it's a 16-inch 22 bolt gun with subsonic ammo. Look at the suppression rating. It's quiet. It's like, guys, like splitting hairs that high up is like on a bolt gun. Go shoot a bolt gun. Suppressed. And you'll see what suppression rating you want. Okay, I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to do your job for you. Just look at the data and you're like, okay, I'm telling you, like that host is like, it's almost like, oh my God, we're publishing another one of these, but it's good to know. It's good to know. It's good to know. Understand? Like for me, it's always that the pistols are more important, or not. No. That's a dangerous word. What I really meant to say was the pistols are more interesting. Okay. Because what you don't want a loud, okay, what you don't want is first round pop on a 16-inch 22. If you have first round pop, you're, in that case, go redo your silencer, right? Come on, guys. So like there's that, right? And so it's like, anyway, what I'm saying is this one's quiet enough to be great on a bolt gun, which it should be. You should all expect that. But what I'm saying is on a pistol, it's punching up. And I can tell you it's doing pretty well. And that's the next topic. Okay, that's what we'll go into. And I just want to say, and this is just an intro topic right now, I love when these types of silencers get released, because they take a concept done by the industry before and they add things that are practical a lot of times, and they take away things that a lot of people don't care about, and they end up performing well on host weapons that consumers are actually using. And I'm here for that. Okay, like, because 22 is all about the consumer, like through and through, like 99.9% of it. Like, yeah, I know agency guns with the, I know you kill people with 22. I know. I'm saying, like, in today, this is a consumer market. Like, yeah, I know the secret squirrels with the 22 in the head. I get it, dude. Yeah, who doesn't love a good, couch pop? I get it. Who doesn't love a good, but anyway, so yeah, I'm here for this. So now, is it a perfect silencer? No, but we're going to get into the nitty gritty on the next episode. So go check out the article, and then go check out the next one we're about to talk about, because that's the one that's going to really hit you, I think, with the titanium. The silencer is called the Titanium. And that's what you need to know. I know it's weird. It's made out of titanium, but it's also called the Titanium. Yeah, thanks, Otter Creek. That was really fun to write that article. Okay, topic 3. At a time of 49 minutes and 15 seconds. It's like these companies, like, remember Resilient with Jesse's Girl and Jolene? I have to write the Jesse's Girl, the Jolene. It's like I have to put an article in front of a proper name. It's like so... Like, it's fine, but like it's also a person's name. So putting an article in front of a person's name is like so subconsciously weird when you're writing in English. And then it's just, anyway. So with the Otter Creek Labs Titanium, it's like the Otter Creek Labs Titanium is constructed of titanium. And you're like, oh, you do this weird word. Like you don't like repeat yourself. And then like you run the risk of like strange alliteration if you're not careful. If you're a writer, you'll be like, what? Anyway, I guess this is where the difference between technical writing and prose kind of falls into place. So topic 3, Sound Signature Review 6150, the Otter Creek Labs Titanium on the subcompact Beretta 21A. Intro discussion for this white paper also published today. And guys, I am very pleased and honored and proud to say this is the 150th article in the Silencer Sound Standard, and that's just cool. So it's a big one, man. 150th article. I would like to thank everyone listening, all of the Pew Science members, my wife, my family, everyone who believed in this from the beginning because they knew it would work, just like I did. And we just celebrated the 4th anniversary. So 150 articles. If you want to do the math, which I did, that works out to an average of 0.72 articles per week. That's right. That includes weekends and holidays and everything. Over 4 years. Okay? 0.72 articles per week, including weekends, holidays, and everything. Over 4 years. Okay? So that's almost an article a week. In total. Averaged out. Okay? Okay. No entity has done what Pew Science has done in the history of silencers. The end. It's not only the volume, it's the quality and the dang awesomeness of the whole thing. Frankly, big ups to everyone who's in our corner, especially Otter Creek Labs. I'm serious. So this little titanium silencer, dude, guys, it's 4 ounces. What? You can take it apart, and when you put it on a pistol, it's beating some other conventional systems that are pretty popular. So it should be looked at if you are following this research progression. I urge you to not dismiss it. Don't do that. Is it a world beater? No, it's not a world beater, but it's not advanced enough to be a world beater, and that's fine. Not everything is. I mean, it's not a Cat SR. It's not going to be, okay? But that's not the point here. The point here is that the silencer is 4 ounces and is punching up, and to this day, I'm telling you, to this day, the most consistent and refined conventional rimfire silencer we've published data so far has been the rugged Oculus. That's right. Everyone loves that silencer. It's a really good silencer. It is possible that this titanium from Otter Creek Labs out Oculuses the Oculus in the applications in which most people use these types of silencers. Okay? Forget all the people yelling they want to use things on 5.7. Yes, you can do that. No, you are not going to have a good time doing that, okay? You want 22 silencers to be light. You want them to be well-rounded. That's the prevailing consumer sentiment of consumers who actually shoot suppressed rimfire, okay? So check out the data, friends. Check it out. It impressed us. There's way more here than just the big number at the top of the page. I think we're at this point in this research effort that enough of you have been following along and looking and learning about the stuff that not every silencer is the same, right? And it's the little things sometimes that matter a lot, and the devil can be in the details, to use another cliche. So really sit back, relax, crack open a tasty beverage, enjoy the week's data. Last week, again, I did 2.5 hours for you. This time, I'm going to cut it off here in less than an hour. That's good for me and to you. Sometimes the data analysis should be live right now. If you're here on or after around 0700 Central U.S. Daylight Time, okay. So check it out. Let it percolate, as it were. We'll be back next week to talk technically about the research. So I hope that 3-lug discussion was informative. I know it was a lot and maybe a little bit long-winded, but I think you need to all know about that stuff, and I don't want the history to die either. Okay, so please stay safe out there. I will talk with you folks again soon. Enjoy the data. Be merry.